Hi, we are from Group 7 would like to present about the nervous system. Our group consists of two members, which is Natasha binti Ibrahim and Stanlee.
The nervous system is a complex network of specialized cell tissues and organs that coordinate and regulate the activities of the body. Its main function is to detect and respond to both internal and external stimuli, allowing organisms to maintain homeostasis, interact with the environment, and carry out various psychological processes. Structure of nervous system consists of nerve, brain, spinal cord, and sensory organ. The nervous system is the body control center responsible for coordinating and regulating our bodily function. It is divided into two main parts, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Let's explore each division in more detail. First, central nervous system, CNS. The CNS consists of the brain and spinal cord. The brain is like the command center, processing sensory information, initiating movement, and controlling our thoughts and emotion. The spinal cord is a long, cylindrical structure that serves as a pathway for transmitting signals between the brain and the rest of the body. It can also coordinate reflex action independently. Second, peripheral nervous system. The PNS consists of nerves that extend from the CNS to different parts of the body. These nerves transmit electrical signals between the CNS and the peripheral tissue such as muscle, organ, and sensory receptor. There are two types of nerve. The first type of nerves in the PNS is called cranial nerve. These nerves emerge directly from the brain and mainly serve the head, neck, and some visceral organs. The second type is spinal nerve. They emerge from the spinal cord and extend throughout the body, serving the limbs, trunk, and other body regions.
Reflexes are automatic, involuntary response generated by the nervous system in response to a specific stimulus. They play a vital role in protecting the body from potential harm and maintaining homeostasis. Reflex action occur without conscious thought or decision making, allowing for rapid immediate response to stimuli. There are few types of reflex. Firstly are stretch reflex. This reflex occurs in response to the stretching of a muscle. It helps maintain muscle tone and balance. The knee-jerk reflex, partly reflex, is an example of a stretch reflex. Second, withdrawal reflex. These reflexes are protective response that occur when the body needs to move away from a potentially harmful or painful stimulus. For example, if you touch something hot, a withdrawal reflex causes you to pull your hand away. Lastly, autonomic reflex. These reflexes regulate involuntary activity of the body, such as heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, and glandular secretion. Examples include the pupillary reflex, adjusting the size of the pupils in response to light, and the salivary reflex, stimulation of saliva production in response to food. At the core of the nervous system are neurons. Neurons are specialized cells responsible for transmitting electrical signals called nerve impulses. Now I'm going to explain about part of neurons. First, cell body. This cell body, also known as the soma, contains the nucleus and other cellular organelles. It processes information and maintains the overall health of the neuron. Second, dendrites. Branch-like extensions called dendrites receive signals from other neurons or sensory receptors. They serve as the primary site for receiving incoming information. Third, axon. The axon is a long, slender projection that transmit electrical signals away from the cell body. It can extend for varying distance, ranging from microscopic lengths to several feet. Fourth, axon terminal. At the end of the axon, there are small branches called axon terminals. These terminals communicate with other neurons or target cells through specialized junctions called synapses.
Neurons can be classified into three main types based on their function and structure. First, afferent neurons. Afferents means towards, also known as sensory neuron. These neurons emerge from sensory organs and the skin to carry the impulses from the sensory organs towards the brain and spinal cord. Second, connecting neuron, also known as associative neuron. These neurons link afferent and efferent neurons. Lastly, efferent neurons. Efferents means away from, also known as motor neurons. These neurons carry impulses away from the brain and the spinal cords and toward the muscles and glands. Neurotransmitters are the chemical substances that transmit signal across synapses, the junction between neurons or between neurons and a target cells. They allow for communication and information transfer within the nervous system. There are between 200 and 300 known neurotransmitters, and each has a specialized function. Here are some of the examples of neurotransmitters and their roles. Firstly, dopamine. Dopamine is associated with reward, motivation, pleasure, and movement control. It plays a role in regulating mood, attention, and reinforcement mechanism in the brain. Dysfunction in dopamine signaling are implicated in conditions such as Parkinson's disease and addiction. Second, serotonin. It contributes to the regulation of mood, appetite, sleep, and emotional well-being. It is involved in modulating pain, body temperature, and cardiovascular function. Imbalance in serotonin levels have been linked to depression, anxiety, and other mood disorders.
Glial cells, also known as neuroglia or simply glia, are non-neuronal cells that make up a substantial portion of the nervous system. While neurons transmit electrical signals, glial cells provide structural support, nourishment, insulation, and protection to neurons. There are four main functions of glial cells. First, to surround neurons and hold them in place. Second, to supply nutrients and oxygen to neurons. Third, to insulate one neuron from another. And lastly, to destroy and remove dead neuron. A myelin sheath is the protective covering made up of glial cells. This white sheet forms the white matter of the brain and covers some part of the spinal cord and the axon of the most peripheral nerve. The portion of the nerve fibers that are myelinated are known as white matter. The term myelinated means having a myelin sheath. It is the color of this covering that make these fibers white. The portions of the nerve fibers that are unmyelinated are known as gray matter. The term unmyelinated means lacking a myelin sheath. The lack of the myelin sheath reveals the brownish gray color of the cortex of the cerebellum and the core of the spinal cord. Some of the benefit of myelin sheath is for signal protection and preservation. The myelin sheath protects the axon from damage, providing physical support and shielding it from external influences. It also helps to preserve the integrity of the electrical signal by preventing signal loss or distortion.
The central central nervous system is made up of the brain and spinal cord. These structures are protected externally by the bones of the cranium and the vertebrae of the spinal column. Within this bony structure, the brain and the spinal cord are further protected by the meninges and the cerebrospinal fluid. The meninges are a set of three protective membranes that surround and support the brain and spinal cord. They play crucial roles in protecting the central nervous system (CNS) and maintaining its proper functioning. First, dura mater. The dura mater is the outermost and toughest layer of the meninges. It is thick, fibrous membrane that provides a mechanical strength and protection to the brain and spinal cord. Second, arachnoid mater. The arachnoid mater is the middle layer of the meninges. It has a delicate web-like structure and is responsible for cushioning the CNS and providing a barrier between the dura mater and the underlying pia mater. Third, pia mater. The pia mater is the innermost layer of the meninges. It is thin and delicate membranes that closely adhere to the surface of the brain and spinal cord, following the contours and providing support and protection. Now, let's delve into some key parts of the brain. Main part of the brain and their function. At a high level, the brain can be divided into cerebrum, thalamus, hypothalamus, cerebellum, and brainstem. The cerebrum, the largest part of the brain, dominates our conscious experience and higher cognitive functions. It consists of two hemispheres and responsible for sensory perception, motor control, language, memory, and conscious thought processes. The cerebral cortex is the outer layer of the cerebrum. It composed of intricate folds and grooves known as gyra, the elevated folds of gray matter in the cerebral cortex, and sulci, the fissure of the cerebral cortex, singular sulcus. The cortex is responsible for the higher cognitive functions and is divided into distinct regions, each associated with a specific function. Second, the cerebral lobes of the cerebrum. The cerebrum is further divided into four main lobes. The frontal lobe controls skill, motor function, memory, and behavior. The parietal lobe receives and interprets nerve impulses from sensory receptors in tongue, skin, and muscle. The temporal lobes control the sense of hearing and smell and the ability to create, store, and access new information. And lastly, the occipital lobe controls eyesight. Each lobe has unique function and plays a role in different aspects of perception, cognition, and motor control. The cerebrum is located in the upper part of the brain and is divided into two hemispheres, the right and the left cerebral hemisphere. These hemispheres are connected by a bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. The left cerebral hemisphere controls the majority of functions on the right side of the body, and injury to the left hemisphere produces sensory and motor deficits on the right side of the body. The right cerebral hemisphere controls most of the function on the left side of the body, and injury to the right hemisphere produces sensory and motor deficits on the left side of the body.
The thalamus is located at the center of the brain, above the brainstem and below the cerebral cortex. It is a bilateral structure consisting of two symmetrical halves known as thalami. The thalami are connected by a bridge of nerve fibers called the interthalamic adhesion. The function of thalamus are relay sensory stimuli from the spinal cord and midbrain to the cerebral cortex. The thalamus suppresses some stimuli and magnifies others. The hypothalamus is a small region located below the thalamus and above the brainstem. It sits at the base of the brain near the optic chiasm, where the optic nerve partially cross. the hypothalamus serves as a vital control center, regulating numerous physiological processes and maintaining homeostasis within the body. There are 7 regulatory functions of the hypothalamus. 1. Regulates and integrates the autonomic nervous system, including controlling heart rate, blood pressure, respiratory rate, and digestive tract activity. 2. Regulates emotional response, including fear and pleasure. 3. Regulates body temperature. 4. Regulates food intake by controlling hunger sensation. 5. Regulates water balance by controlling thirst sensations. 6. Regulates sleep wakefulness cycle. And 7. Regulates the pituitary gland and endocrine system activity.
The cerebellum, located at the back of the brain beneath the cerebrum, is often referred to as the little brain. Despite its size, it plays a significant role in coordinating voluntary movement, balance and posture, and motor learning. The cerebellum is located at the posterior part of the brain, just below the cerebral hemisphere. It consists of 2 hemispheres connected by a central structure called the vermis. The cerebellum is characterized by its distinct pattern of folia or folds, which increase its surface area. The cerebellum receives incoming messages regarding movement within joints, muscle, tone, and position of the body. From here, messages are relayed to the different parts of the brain that control the motion of skeletal muscles. The brainstem is located between the spinal cord and the rest of the brain. The function of control the function necessary for survival like breathing, digestion, heart rate, blood pressure, and for arousal, being awake and alert. It consists of 3 main regions: the medulla oblongata, the pons, and the midbrain. First, the medulla oblongata is the lowest part of the brainstem. It controls vital functions such as breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, swallowing, and reflexes like coughing and sneezing. Second, the pons lies above the medulla and play a crucial role in relaying signals between different parts of the brain. It also contributes to regulating breathing, sleep, facial expression, and certain reflexes. Lastly, the midbrain in the highest part of the brainstem. It acts as a bridge between the lowest brainstem and the higher regions of the brain. The midbrain is involved in controlling eye movement, processing visual and auditory information, and coordinating motor function.
The spinal cord, a remarkable structure that serves as a vital pathway for communication between the brain and the rest of the body. The spinal cord is responsible for transmitting sensory information from the body to the brain and coordinating motor commands from the brain to the body. The spinal cord is a long tubular structure that extends from the base of the brain down to the vertebral canal. It is surrounded and protected by the vertebral column or spine. The spinal cord consists of gray matter and white matter. The gray matter is located in the inner part of the spinal cord and is shaped like a butterfly. It contains cell bodies, dendrite, and synapses, playing a vital role in processing and integrating sensory and motor information. And the white matter surrounds the gray matter and consists of myelinated nerve fibers. These fibers form ascending and descending tracts that carry information to and from the brain. The peripheral nervous system are the network of nerves that extend throughout the body, connecting various organs, tissue, and sell to the central nervous system. The PNS plays a vital role in relaying information, coordinating actions, and maintaining homeostasis. The peripheral nervous system consists of the 12 pairs of cranial nerves that extend from the brain, plus 31 pairs of spinal nerves that extend from the spinal cord. There are three types of specialized peripheral nerves transmit signal to and from the central nervous system. These are autonomic, sensory, and somatic nerve fibers. First, autonomic nerve fibers carry instruction to the organs and glands from the autonomic nervous system. Second, sensory nerve fibers receive external stimuli, such as how something feels, and transmit this information to the brain, where it is interpreted. Third, somatic nerve fibers, which are also known as motor nerve fibers, convey information that controls the body's voluntary muscular movements.
I mentioned before this that the peripheral nervous system consists of the 12 pairs of the cranial nerve that extend from the brain. The cranial nerve emerge directly from the brain and primarily innervated structure in the head and neck. They are responsible for functions such as vision, hearing, facial expression, taste, perception, and control of eye movements. Now I'm going to explain more about 12 pairs of the cranial nerve. They are numbered and named based on their location and function. 1. Olfactory nerve. The olfactory nerve carries sensory information related to the sense of smell. It extends from the nasal cavity of the olfactory bulbs located at the base of the brain. Second, optic nerve. The optic nerve is responsible for vision. It transmits visual information from the eyes to the brain's visual processing center at the back of the brain. Number 3, oculomotor. The nerve oculomotor nerve. The oculomotor nerve controls the movement of most eye muscles, allowing for voluntary eye movement, pupils and constriction and focusing. Number 4, trochlear nerve. The trochlear nerve controls the superior oblique muscle of the eye, enabling downwards and inwards eye movement. Number 5, trigeminal nerve. The trigeminal nerve is responsible for sensation in the face such as touch, temperature, and pain. It also controls the muscle involved in chewing. Number 6, abducens nerve. The abducens nerve controls the lateral rectus muscle of the eyes, enabling outward eye movement. Number 7, facial nerve. The facial nerve controls facial expression, taste, sensation on the front two-thirds of tongue, and the secretion of tears and saliva. Number 8, vestibulocochlear nerve. Vestibulocochlear nerve, also known as the auditory nerve, is responsible for hearing and balance. Number 9 is glossopharyngeal nerve. Glossopharyngeal nerve is involved in taste sensation on the back third of the tongue, swallowing, and the sensation of throat and inner ears. Number 10, vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve and play a role in various functions, including controlling the heart rate, breathing, digestion, and sensory information from organs in the chest and abdomen. Number 11, accessory nerve. The accessory nerve controls certain neck and shoulder muscle involved in head and shoulder movement. Number 12, hypoglossal nerve. The hypoglossal nerve controls the muscle of the tongue, enabling movement necessary for speech, swallowing, and tongue coordination.
The spinal nerves originate from the spinal cord and connect to the central nervous system to the rest of the body. These nerves transmit sensory information from the body to the spinal cord and deliver motor signals from the spinal cord to muscle and glands. The 31 pairs of peripheral spinal nerves are grouped together and named based on the region of the body they innervate. Within each region, the nerves are referred by numbers. The cervical nerve are C1 to C8. The thoracic nerve are T1 to T12. The lumbar nerve are L1 to L5. And the sacral nerve are S1 to S5. Spinal nerve sometimes join with others to form a plexus to innervate a certain area. The lumbar plexus is made up of the first four lumbar nerves, L1 to L4, and serve the lower back. In conclusion, the physiology of the nervous system is an intricate marvel that allows us to perceive the world, control our body, and interact with our environment. It is intricate network of cells enable us to perceive, interpret, and respond to the world around us. From processing sensory information to coordinating complex movement. The nervous system's functions are essential for our survival and well-being, from neurons and neurotransmitter to reflex, glial cells, the myelin sheath, the central nervous system, and the various parts of the brain. Each element contributes to our complex function.